Hi, everyone. I'm Ann with Andale Homestead.
Good morning, everyone. It is Casey over at Ormsby Farms.
I'm Monica at Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
And this is Sandy at Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. It's been a minute. But
Yeah.
Ann, could you just welcome everybody in? There's all kinds of people that are popping in already. And so if you could just say hi to everybody.
It's so fun and such a treasure to do that. Jesse and Lisa from Lazy Days Ahead. Good morning, everybody. Hey, B&Us Odyssey. How are you? Hey, Troy Sutton. I'm glad you're here, honey. Scotty. Hey, Lone Cross. And Melanie. Hey, how are you, sweetie? So glad you're here. Cynthia Delot, all the way from the Netherlands. So happy to have her here. So thank you, everyone, for coming in to Hey, y'all. Hey, and we got some cool stuff to talk about. Sandy, what are you thinking of as far as our topic today from what we did this past Monday's podcast that was released is all about fodder.
Well,
Not
fodder.
father, but fodder. What you got to say about fodder?
Well, for me, I love fodder. But some people out there will be going, what are you talking about? We don't even know what that is. Definition of fodder. Food for your animals, especially if it's dried. Hay, different. We're going to talk about all kinds of different fodders. But for me, I love fodder for my chickens.
That's awesome.
Because
Now, Sandy, is there something on top of your microphone, maybe, or around? You sound just a little teeny bit. We want everybody to hear every word, every speck of knowledge that you have out there.
can you
So,
hear me better? Is it better
a little
now?
bit. Go
Ah,
right ahead.
sorry, had a little
There
sticky
you
note.
go. That's it.
You know
Yay!
me and notes.
It was
You
those
and your
Post-it.
Notes
sticky
all
note.
over.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay, so fodder, you like it for your chicken feed.
I do. It's a way to really stretch your budget. You know, um,
Yep.
example, and we talked about this on the Monday. If you had a 50-pound bag of wheat that you're going to make into fodder, it would actually make 200 pounds of food for my chickens. That's a big difference,
It
you
is.
know. And as a homesteader, you always want to stretch your dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't think of things that we can give our animals. But most of those, like we have a pond that's across our road. It gets duckweed. I don't know if you know it floats on top of the water. That is
Mhm.
great fodder for a lot of animals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Monica, have you tried any fodder? Do you use fodder?
Yeah, I mean, we have done when we first started talking about this on our podcast, I was kind of blown away by some of the things you were recommending because I didn't realize fodder was more than just the wheatgrasses or the oats or whatever that you sprouted. Like I thought that fodder was just something you had sprouted too. I mean, I kind of knew, but I didn't really know until I learned more. So yeah, I mean, we have done the sprouted grains. We've done the I've done barley, I've done wheat. I've done oats, I think too, whole oats. I mean, I've done those where they build, they grow the little grasses. But you were also talking about all kinds of different fodder besides the sprouted grains. So, I mean, I guess fodder is it hay too, or
Sure, it is.
okay?
Yeah,
So, I mean, yeah,
fodder.
I use
The
fodder.
actual definition of fodder is food
Yeah.
for your animals. Now, most
Okay.
people think of it as dried food, but
Hmm.
that's not necessarily in the whole scope of it.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're by somebody that does brews beer, there's a lot of microbrewers. They have this access stuff that they would throw away after the beer is made.
Hmm.
Um, it's the residue that is left from all of the stuff they add into the beer. That is actually a fodder that you could give to your animals.
Well,
It doesn't have like alcohol in it. It's just the leftover because I might be visiting my local brewery.
Well, my one friend who uses it a lot, he has the thing with the brewery in our town. They give it all of his stuff.
Okay.
And what he usually does is he takes it, they give him in 5-gallon buckets. He takes it home and he actually lets it dry out and then he gives it to them. If
Okay.
they ate a lot, probably there would be a little alcohol in there. I'm not sure.
chips and chickens, okay?
That's
But
some happy girls.
but fodder is more of a supplemental thing. It's not the main diet, correct?
Well, it depends on what you look how you look at it. Most people think of fodder as the extra,
Okay.
right? But every pellet that you buy
Hmm.
is actually a fodder.
Oh,
So it's, it depends on who you talk to.
Got it.
okay.
What about you,
So,
Casey?
well, as I said on the podcast, my knowledge on fodder was our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's about all I knew about fodder. But I have to tell you, because for people that don't know, we pre-shoot our podcast. And when we shot that episode, I took a lot of notes that day because I really wanted to have something over the winter when the grass was not as green,
Right.
for the girls, to have something that would imitate grass for them, to where they could still get a supplement. Again, I know that you can't completely take them all off their feet and just say, okay, fodder is all you get. You don't get anything from this fodder on.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have fodder jokes all day, all day. But I think it's so interesting to learn about all the different ways that you can grow the fodder and how it doubles and saves you money. Because, like you said, Sandy, that's our number one thing in the front of our head as homesteaders is how can we save money? How can we not spend the $4 billion on treats and this kind of stuff and buying a 50-pound bag and that turning into 200 pounds of fodder feed is wonderful, is absolutely wonderful.
Oh,
That's right.
okay. So maybe we should tell them how you do that. You got your 50 pound 50
Yes,
pound bag
please.
of feed,
Yes.
right? What I this is my experience, and Monica has done, and she might do it a little bit different than me. Okay. So I have lights. You can see them in the back. I have them turned off right now. But I just use wire shelves. The seed trays, they're just flat. You can grow stuff in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually need any soil to grow the fodder,
Okay.
right? You can grow it in soil if you want to. I've grown it in perlite. You don't actually have to use anything. You can just put that green in there, a little water. I, Actually, I'll take it back one step. I do like to soak them for about 8 hours first before I
Okay.
put them in the tray.
So we're
I just put
we're
them
soaking the wheat,
The
berry,
right,
grain.
or barley.
right,
Okay.
right. So I'm soaking them for about 8 hours, right? I'm just putting them in a bowl and I'm soaking them. Then I'm going to put them in that tray. I like to use lights. Maybe you just have a great window and they will start to sprout and they'll start to grow. And then I can give them to my chickens. If you do it like about a 10-day rotation, um, you can have a whole bunch of different trays and you just can have it continuously through the winter.
That's so awesome. You
That
see, the
sounds
first time that I did that, after you suggested, I thought I was supposed to put soil in the bottom. And
You can.
so, well, I did, and they did eat it, but then they left the dirt. And I thought, wait a minute, mine doesn't look like everybody else's because I mean, I pulled this stuff out and it's got dirt everywhere, all over me and the back porch. So I thought, well, how is it that they pull it out? It's so clean. It has all these roots underneath and all the sprouting things. But to learn from all of us that you put the seeds, soak them, put them in a tray with water is all you need. You don't even need soil is super cool to me.
Yeah, you don't have to have soil. One of my favorite things to use is, have you ever been driving down the highway and it's a very steep slope and they have this material that they lay out there to help so that when it rains hard, it doesn't go sliding down and it holds the seed
Right.
that so it can start to grow. Um, I bought a roll of it one time. And
Oh,
so lots of times I have just cut it to fit that tray. I can grow the fodder on there. Then I take it out in the wintertime. And because it's a little more stable, I can literally just put it on on the ground or on the snow, or I can bend it up and the chickens think it's really fun because they're pecking on the sides.
yeah.
It's just something to do to supplement your feed. And I
You're
really like it.
That's awesome.
Now,
And
when you're buying
Monica,
these things, I was gonna say, when you're buying these things, because again, never really done it before, super ready to do it this winter. Like you can get, what is it, whole wheat berries? Is that what you're getting from like Azure Standard and
Right.
that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Or whole barley?
you can you want it organic.
Okay.
For me, I want it organic. And you go in Acer Standard, you can go into a section that is feed, and you can get a 50-pound bag, and it's really not too bad a price.
Wow.
well, I tell you what I used because we have wild birds in our backyard by the creek that we feed every day, the geese and the ducks and the blue herons and so forth. So we get big bags of bird seed.
Mhm.
And that's what I used, and, I mean, it sprouted in, like, 2 days, 3 days. I had the grass was this tall, which was a ton of fun, so you don't have to get wheat
No.
berries or anything like that. You can use pretty much anything that you have, right?
Yeah. What about you, Monica? What's your favorite thing to use?
So we do like we entertain, not like Casey likes to entertain, where he's like a really great host. We
Yes.
entertain, we have parties like a couple times a year. And when we do, we get those metal trays that, you put the chafing things underneath. You have the little dishes. So we get those metal trays and you can get them at Costco or even Walmart or wherever. And we get
Yeah.
the smaller ones. And after we've used them for our food, I keep them. I clean them really well. And then I've poked holes in those and I have used those for my fodder because when I put and I soak it in a 5-gallon bucket and then I distribute them evenly to those bins and then I will put them on a rack outside. I had a cheap greenhouse that I picked up one time from the dollar store and I put it on that and I just let that do its thing. And after a couple days, I would just rip the fodder up from the tray and I just lay them down in those little rectangles. And then I'd start over. And I would probably take a couple of those trays out every day or every other day once I started and just put them back in. I loved it. It was a great rotation. And I mean, the kids were helping with it. And at the time, my now 10-year-old was little and he'd take his hands and run it through all the seeds and help me distribute the seeds evenly in the trays. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a great way to do that for the birds, especially when it's fall here and everything is already crispy and dry and there's
Yeah.
not a lot of green grass. So even though it's not winter, it's crispy. Everything's crispy. So have that green grass for them, whether it's wheat or barley or whatever it was. It was nice for the chickens and even the pigs. So, yeah.
Okay.
But we have fodder this time of year. We have pumpkin fodder, right?
Oh,
Because that would be considered fodder. So your
yeah.
extra vegetables in your garden, I think you had said that on the podcast,
Mhm.
Sandy, that
Yeah.
they're like turnips or any of those root veggies or things that maybe you're not eating a lot of or whatever it is. We let our animals go into the garden at the end of the season anyway. But this time of year, especially November 1st, is the season. People are getting rid of their pumpkins. Your neighbors are getting rid of their pumpkins, and churches and pumpkin farms are getting rid of their pumpkins. So go get them for your animals. Save some money and get those pumpkins. Matter of fact, tomorrow we'll be up early and loaded. And at 10 a.m., we're going to be at the pumpkin farm getting bins and bins of pumpkins for our
Oh my
pigs,
gosh.
for our chickens, our ducks, our turkeys, and our cows. Our cows love pumpkins. So we'll
Wow.
be getting pumpkin fodder tomorrow.
Yeah. And sometimes we
Get
don't
my
think
pumpkin
about
pies.
yeah. um, other things like if you live by somebody that farms sugar beets, what
Mhm.
about where's their waste things, the tops of the sugar beets, the fish meal, molasses, things
Mhm.
we don't really think about. Sometimes, if I was making microgreens, that I'm putting in salads, I'm putting it on my bread, for a sandwich, and I
Mhm.
had extra, and they're getting a little bit too big, right? For me to enjoy on my salad. I can just take those microgreens and give them as fodder to the chickens.
Okay. That's cool.
You know,
I mean,
if if you have really old seeds and the percentage of that they're going to make a lot of vegetables for you, you could always just soak those, let some of them sprout, and give them to your chickens.
okay. That's a good idea
What? I'm
because
learning more as I'm, like, listening in.
I
Thank you.
mean, our minds get blown all the time, but I wanted to come back to something that Monica had said because I have envisions. I have these plastic trays and Do I need holes in those trays for the drainage? I'm pretty sure we talked about this on the podcast, but I need to make sure that does
I
it
mean,
need to drain?
so yeah, so I double up mine, and so what I would do is I would put holes in the tray and the top tray, and then I put the seeds in, and then I'd water it, right? Make sure that if I had soaked it, okay, so I'm putting really damp seed in there, and then that first day I just kind of let it drain whatever that is already in there, and I have a bottom layer with no holes. And the
Okay.
one with holes will just drain it out into the top. Just it's a light layer, right? It's not that much space. It's usually pretty close to being
Yeah.
flush. But then the next day I will come and I will water it. And sometimes I'll leave that bottom tray on a little longer just to keep that moisture there. But then I will also just, it doesn't matter, I don't think. I mean, you can really just leave it so you don't need that bottom tray. Just leave the holes in and let it drain out. And I would stack mine so they would drain onto one another if I put water
Right.
in there. Just to keep making sure they're moist so they're continuing to grow. But yeah, they need drain holes. They can't have that moisture there on them a lot because they'll mold, from my experience, because it's hot
Okay.
and humid where we are. Sandy?
Well, I think it just depends. You get used to the amount of water,
Yeah.
the more you do it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have, like, when I use that layer, that material, um, sets the seeds up above the water. So it just
Oh,
depends on
gotcha.
how
Okay.
you're doing it. Like, if you were just going to do it with just water, I would definitely have the holes in it
Okay.
because you don't want them molding because they would, because it's too much water.
Okay.
But after you've done a few
Mm,
trays, you really get the hang of it on what how much moisture it needs. A lot of times when I very first start, I've got my layer, I've soaked my seeds, the seeds are on top, I've watered it again. Sometimes I'll either put a lid on top of that tray or I will put a piece of cardboard or a piece of aluminum foil because it doesn't need light at first when it starts to germinate.
Okay.
And it kind of just holds that moisture in a little bit. And then I just take it off after a couple days. Anything you
I'm
can
so
do to make
excited.
it go faster.
Yeah, you make everything sound so easy.
Yeah,
It's
and
wonderful.
I think it also depends on your climate too, what your house is, what the temperature of your
Mhm.
house is, right? I mean, I put mine outside and I did mine outside and they would dry out really fast. So I was constantly trying to get moisture in them to make
Ah,
sure depending on the time of year. But then you have to, like Sandy said, you have to find that balance because I also had that little greenhouse that I kind of kept it in. So you can try different areas. If it doesn't work for you in one specific place, make sure you're not giving up. Try it in another place. Or
Right.
maybe it molds one time. That's okay. Try again because
Mhm.
you're going to get the hang of it. And the more you try, the better you're going to get. And you're going to feel better about what the outcome is. And you're going to get that special, that sweet spot for you and for your animals.
yeah. I have to say that I keep on going back to the pumpkin idea of Monica has told me off the podcast, Casey, you need to go and find you a pumpkin farm.
Yes.
Monica, I just want to say, I hope that the pumpkin farm is not fodder than your feed store.
Oh
Sorry,
my
Jesse, I'm taking your stitch.
But
Yeah.
well, it's not just pumpkins though. What about apples? What about pears? What about people like Casey who have, pear trees that are not doing the best, or maybe they're doing better, and you're taking there's no way people can consume. Well, there is a way they can all of it, but a lot of people are ready to give their extra away. And if
Yeah.
you're not going to put it in jars and cans, or you're not going to keep it for yourself, then give it to your animals. I mean, why not? This is the time of year when there's always a time of year where people are cycling through things,
Right.
especially those veggies or those fruits that they're trying to get off their trees or that's falling to the ground. That's fodder.
Yeah.
That's extra for your animals.
That's so
right,
cool. That's so cool.
right. And you don't have to buy any special lights. I
Mhm.
use shop lights because that's what I use when I'm growing my seedlings. But
Okay.
don't think you have to buy special lights. A shop light is just cheap and easy, or
Yeah.
use a good window. Like, this is my south facing window here,
Mhm.
and it gets great sun in the wintertime. I can
Okay.
put it right there.
Okay. Well, I just have to read a couple of the comments if that's okay with y'all. And Jesse from Lazy Days Ahead with Jesse and Lisa says, when Lisa cleans out the fridge, she usually makes what she can and feed it to her mod fodder. So I think that's hilarious. And then we do have Dorothy is in here. We're so glad to have you here. She says that's incredibly interesting. Now, I have a question. Yeah, I have a question. When not everyone has chickens,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
but they might have rabbits or anything. It would be, is this fodder used for animals that are mostly vegetarians, for lack of a better word, animals that eat grass and hay and all those kinds of things? This is what they would be, right?
I think you could use it to any of your farm animals.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Pigs and cows and
Well,
quail and bunnies.
chickens are not vegetarians.
right.
Okay.
Chickens are carnivores as well.
Okay.
They are ruthless. They will eat
Okay.
mice. If you have never seen a chicken devour a baby mouse, yeah, that's a
Oh.
thing.
Or snakes or yeah, that's true.
Exactly. They
Yes.
eat
Um,
meat. They eat meat. They are ruthless. But no,
okay.
yeah, you can use it for all your animals, right?
Right.
Okay.
So Casey, you're very woodsy around your place, right? Um, you can use young seedlings as a fodder too. There's a lot of things that an animal will eat. You know, a lot of times people have this beautiful tree. It's got all these little suckers coming up. Um, use that for fodder.
I think we talked about on the podcast. I asked you about pine seedlings because we have a lot of those around. If that can be used, I know that you said that there are parts that you
Yeah,
think are good for the.
I think you could eat depend on your animal, and you'll be able to tell. Do some research. Always research, because there are certain foods, plants, trees that a certain animal should not eat.
Mhm.
So just do a little research. And so if you have something, just Google, can my pigs eat this? And then you
Right.
will know what they can eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Now, Karma does say I wanted to run up and see Karma from Lewis Acre Farms, and we appreciate you all being here so much. This is so fun to be able to talk and interact with all of you. She says, all I have is cats and dogs for now, so I don't think they'll eat fodder. Someday I will have animals that will benefit from this information. I truly appreciate you educating us. Now, there is some, I mean, pumpkin is good for dogs.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, why not pumpkin in your dog food or put that with, can some of that maybe, get some extra pumpkins or take the pumpkins you carved out and go ahead and put it and make some fodder for your animals. Make some dog
Uh,
food, cat food.
It's fodder's
yep,
all kinds of things. It's not
Yes.
just
it
grass.
is. Yeah, we just usually think of things that are dry as fodder. But that's
Mhm.
not really, the tops of your rutabagas, rutabagas themselves can end up being fodder for your animals. There's a lot
Okay.
of things to look at, you know, grasses, clovers. Um, look out in your land and see what you have.
Right. That's right. That's right. And so what we do for entertainment for our little girls, we have 4 little fancy pants chickens that think they rule the roost, which they do. We hang a cabbage head about once a week, hang it
Mhm.
on a string for them to play with and eat, and man, that thing is eaten right down to the root. But oftentimes those cabbage heads come out of our garden. So
Right.
that's fodder, right? I mean,
Mhm.
fodder being food.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Like we have apples and pears. So with the chickens, we have some rebar into the ground. And so I'll just put apples, 4 or 5 apples,
Oh,
and those girls will just peck, 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 peck. It's just like um playtime for them.
Well, I'm excited because I think we talked about, I can't remember which episode it was, but I saw on Instagram where a lady strung popcorn, dehydrated zucchini, and different color foods on a mini Christmas tree for her chickens to peck at for the holidays, and I will be doing that. I keep on hearing, I hear Ann that she hangs a cabbage. So I'm like, okay, I'm not super crazy yet for wanting to put a, because I have the little seedlings growing where I don't want them to grow on my land. Why not
Right.
put 'em up, repot them, wrap them with the popcorn and the dehydrated squash and dehydrated tomatoes or whatever I'm doing for the different colors. But would that be considered fodder or would that be considered bougie? Fodder, bougie, same thing, kind of?
Bougie.
No,
I think
bougie.
fodder. I
So
like it. I like it. I saw that video when she had that, and I thought that's just such a fun idea. You know, if you don't
yeah.
want to use a tree, you could just use a string and put it on part of your chicken coop or whatever. You know, your turkeys would like it, your chickens would like it, geese, guineas, all kinds of people, all kinds
You
of
know,
animals would
I don't
like
know
that.
about turkeys because Monica can vouch for my turkeys. My turkeys are really dumb. And let me tell you, I love them with all of my heart. I really do. They are sweet, sweet as can be. But I throw some corn in there and they run to the corner and will not leave the corner until I ask them to put it away. They do not know what it is. Bless their hearts, they just about as special as they can be.
Oh my gracious.
Turkeys, yeah, turkeys don't have. I don't think the elevator goes all the way up to the top for
I
turkeys
don't know
most of the
if it's not.
time. They're not the sharpest ones out there for sure. I mean, they talk a big talk. I mean, they have a lot of fight in them. They want to get in your face, but then they turn around. They're like, no, 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 no,
Never
never
mind.
mind.
I'm just kidding. I just kidding.
Judge.
That was a
I've
joke.
made a terrible mistake. Terrible mistake. I
Yes,
changed
that's
my mind.
exactly it.
So Summer says my cats love pumpkin puree from a can,
Mhm.
and I can't really grow due to wildlife pressure, but they'll jump on my fence if they want it. My neighbors going nuts trying to keep them out. I mean, I think that's fantastic because your neighbor must have pumpkins. And Kayla says, "Oh, I love that idea for a Christmas tree for the chickens." Casey was trying to get us all to decorate our chicken coops, and
Don't
Uh-huh.
bring it
I'm
up.
still
Why did you
doing
bring it up, Miss
well,
Amy?
he already did.
peer pressure, peer pressure.
Yeah, yeah, that would be a fun video, though. It really
It
would
would.
be. I just
It because I
have
have you do notice the chickens that are raised by people that don't really put love and care into the chickens. When it's like a mass chicken farm, you can taste the difference in the meat and the eggs when you put a little love into your chicken coop. And I get it, sometimes we don't always have the
Yeah.
time, but this is something
definitely.
too. I'm bougie anyway, so I'm gonna do it.
I just need to find some more solar lights, maybe, because we don't have electricity run out there, and I'm always nervous about running extension cords and things that the
Right.
chickens can
Yeah.
actually get a hold of. But Glenda says her neighbor had a pet. Glenda from Grace and Fire says my neighbor had a pet turkey. She was disabled, but loved everyone. But she didn't love men. She was so mean to Sir Grace. But she loved it when I brought her treats. And so, turkeys can have their own personalities as well.
They surely
Mine
do.
doesn't like men either,
Oh,
Glenda. Let me tell you, my big daddy, the baby daddy, he loves my mother, loves Sis Tara, can't stand me, and I'm the one that feed. He
oh
wants
my
to jump
goodness.
up and fight every single day.
Well, I'm
Didn't
telling
like Monica's boys either when they came over.
Yeah.
He's not a fan.
well, they're not afraid of farm animals, those boys. Your
No.
boys are used to like, you know.
And here's a little trick for you. If
Okay.
you're worried about the extension cord,
Yes.
um, just get a PVC pipe. You can
Okay.
run the cord through there, so um, the connection make it big enough so that it stays in there, and then you can run that cord right up to where that electricity, where the lights start.
You're magic. Oh my gracious. Why didn't I ever think of that? I mean, it makes sense. And hey, Indiana Backyard Gardener, I'm so glad you're here, honey, Adrian. But and hey, off the wall prepper too. I'm not sure that we got a chance to say hello to you. But it is this common sense thing that we do try to share because
Mhm.
none of us know everything,
Right.
and we can
It's
all learn from each other's ideas, which just excites me like crazy. I just love it. I just love it. So thank you.
Mm.
But okay, so it's been about 30 minutes, y'all. And we're just been talking about fodder. And Sandy, if you want to close us out there and just say, thank you or see you later or we'll catch you next week. We're still
We're ve-
have you back, by the way. I just had to say that.
Everyone, thank you so much for coming. We so appreciate it. I hope you take some of these tips this winter and we got some talking going somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's from.
It's okay. It's not you.
But thanks for coming in. Make sure that you check us out every Monday, 9:00 Eastern time.
Central.
And then in Central time, sorry. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about what we talked about on Monday. So get your questions ready. Get your ideas ready for us. And we just so appreciate you. But try some fodder this year. And we see you next time.
I want to go do that. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.
We're back!
And now live every Friday.
With new topics and a new time.
Don't forget, a new host.
Yay, that's right. Sandy joins the panel for Hey Y'all Hey radio show.
Now, on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central.
We'll see y'all there.